It was a typical Wednesday morning when I stumbled upon the small, quaint bookstore. I had just moved to the city for a new job and was still trying to find my way around. As I walked down the street, I noticed a small sign that read, "New Arrivals." My curiosity piqued. I pushed open the door and stepped inside. The store was dimly lit, with shelves upon shelves of books that seemed to stretch up to the ceiling. I wandered around, running my fingers over the spines of the books, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. It was as if I had finally found a place where I belonged. That's when I saw her. She was sitting behind the counter, surrounded by stacks of books and papers. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail, and her eyes were hidden behind a pair of reading glasses. She looked up as I approached, and our eyes met for the first time. I felt a jolt of electricity run through my body. It was as if I had been punched in the gut, but instead of pain, I felt a sense of excitement and possibility. She smiled at me, and I was hooked. "Welcome to our humble bookstore," she said, her voice warm and inviting. "I'm Emma." "I'm Max," I replied, feeling a little shy. As we chatted, I learned that Emma was not only the owner of the bookstore, but also a book lover and a writer. She had a way of making me feel seen and heard, like I was the only person in the world. Over the next few weeks, I found myself returning to the bookstore again and again. We would talk for hours about books, writing, and life. I was drawn to her intelligence, her passion, and her quirky sense of humor. But it wasn't until I stumbled upon a rare book that Emma had been searching for that our relationship truly took off. The book was an old leather-bound volume, filled with yellowed pages and intricate illustrations. "I've been looking for this book for years," Emma said, her eyes shining with excitement. "It's a first edition of Wuthering Heights." As we delved deeper into the book, I realized that it was more than just a rare volume. It was a connection to Emma's past, a reminder of her love for literature and her dreams. "I used to read this book all the time when I was a teenager," Emma said, her voice filled with nostalgia. "It was my favorite book, and I would read it over and over again." As we talked about the book, I realized that Emma was more than just a bookstore owner. She was a woman with a rich history, a deep love for literature, and a passion for life. Over the next few months, I found myself falling deeper in love with Emma. We would spend hours talking about books, writing, and life. I was drawn to her intelligence, her passion, and her quirky sense of humor. But as our relationship deepened, I realized that there were obstacles in our way. Emma was going through a tough time, struggling to make ends meet as a small business owner. She was also dealing with the loss of her mother, who had passed away recently. Despite these challenges, Emma was determined to make our relationship work. She was a strong and independent woman with a heart of gold. As we navigated the ups and downs of our relationship, I realized that I had found my soulmate. Emma was the one thing that changed my life, leading me to her. In the end, it was the rare book that brought us together. But it was our shared love of literature, our passion for life, and our quirky sense of humor that kept us together. As I looked into Emma's eyes, I knew that I had found my forever love. And as we sat together in the bookstore, surrounded by books and papers, I knew that our love would last a lifetime. Epilogue. Years later, Max and Emma were sitting together in their cozy home, surrounded by books and papers. They had built a life together, filled with love, laughter, and adventure. As they sat on the couch, holding hands, Max turned to Emma and said, "You know what changed my life?" Emma smiled and replied, "The rare book, of course." Max chuckled and said, "No, it was you. You're the one thing that changed my life, leading me to her." Emma's eyes sparkled with tears as she replied, "I feel the same way about you, Max. You're my forever love." And as they sat together, watching the sunset through their windows, Max and Emma knew that their love would last a lifetime.